When Golden Guardians and Does Gargoyle Stream both loaded into the first map of their series today with an Outlaw Rogue, my Rogue friend messaged me immediately saying, "Oh my god, we exist." Because while Rogue is very popular, and it is actually the most popular melee DPS in plus 20 and higher keys currently, according to Raider.io as of today of recording, it really wasn't expected to be in the MDI, mostly because their damage is relatively low. But based on what we saw today, especially what Yoda and Golden Guardians were able to do with the Outlaw Rogue, I fully anticipate that we will see Rogues get played in the Necrotic Wake for the rest of Shadowlands in the MDI. And I don't really anticipate that we'll see Rogues in any other dungeon unless something changes, right? Unless they get buffed or something else gets nerfed very heavily. So the question is, what is it about Necrotic Wake, and what is it about Outlaw Rogue in Necrotic Wake? So first of all, Outlaw Rogue is just the best rogue spec, but really what it is about Necrotic Wake is the weapons. So in this case, it's going to be the Discharge Anima, frequently called the Orbs, which simply just does damage around you and interrupts enemy spellcasts for 8 seconds, and the Javelins, which do damage to everything in a line, and they cause everything to take increased damage for 16 seconds. The Orbs are extremely powerful at killing trash packs. The Javelins are as well, but it's a little bit harder to line up. But the Javelins are very powerful at phasing bosses quickly, especially the third boss where you really want to one-phase him so you don't get too many adds up, right? The increased damage that they take for 20 seconds is very powerful. But these weapons in conjunction with the Rogue Legendary, Mark of the Master Assassin, is really what makes Rogue shine in this dungeon. Mark of the Master Assassin, it's while stealth is active, and for 4 seconds after breaking stealth, your critical chance is increased by 100%. So basically what this means is your Rogue, when they come out of stealth with the weapons, will guaranteed crit with the weapons. And this is incredibly powerful. We already watched the first pull of the dungeon a second ago, but in the replay afterwards, you can actually much more clearly see what it is that Golden Guardians does in this first pull of the dungeon. So the very first pull, Lighty runs in. He pops his trinket for the big shield. They pop Lust here because they know they're going to need it. JB drops Power Barrier, everything into him just to keep him alive. We see Pain Suppression is out as well. So Lighty is taking an incredibly big pull here. He's going into meta through Feldostation. He has all the defensive possible. And so far, no one's done anything besides this. Yoda is off in the back here. He has grabbed the first Javelin, which is positioned back here at the start of the dungeon. And he is going to target, I'm assuming, the boss here. And they're going to pull everything into the boss. And he's going to Javelin. And he is immediately going to jump up to 2.36 million damage because he's going to crit all of these mobs as well as the boss. And he does 358k DPS despite having done nothing else so far in this pull. And after doing so, you're going to see he's going to grapple over, and that's it. That is all he does in this pull. And now he goes and activates the Goliath, and the team, as the rest of the mobs die and as Prideful spawns, the rest of his team is going to come over and pick up the Orbs, because then the Orbs make dealing with Prideful a joke. You just don't have to heal anything, right? So we see here this power of the Javelin, right? We're now 16 seconds to the pull. Yoda is competing with the Fire Mage in damage, who has received, I'm assuming, has received PI. Maybe PI actually went on Lighty because the Mage hasn't actually looked like, it looks like the Mage has yet to combust. But Yoda is competitive in damage. He is doing an absurd amount of damage despite having done nothing, purely through critting with the Javelin on that many mobs. And then he's gone off and been a rogue. He's done the utility thing. He's activated the Goliath for his team to move over and pick up the Orbs. Now, later in the dungeon, we see a very similar thing, but this time with the Anima Orbs instead of the spears. So we see Yoda has a little blue ball above his head. Once they start moving a sec, you see is that little blue ball above his head. And Lighty here is going to gather up a massive, massive, massive pull. This is a extremely large pull with mobs that you would never pull. You never pull the Skeletal Monstrosity. He has tons of health. He has very scary casts. You don't really want to deal with it. And again, we see a very similar thing, right? It's a little hard to see right now, but we're over 3 minutes of the dungeon. So Powered Barrier and Pain Suppression are both back available. And as we see, Pain Suppression has been cast. Powered Barrier is back down. Lighty is also in meta, so he can survive tanking this very large pull once again. And Yoda, currently in stealth, still has the Orb active, is going to get in and activate the Orb, and he's going to jump up immediately in just a couple of globals to well over 100,000 damage, right? And through that 100% crit, that 100% crit is now over, of course, because it's only 4 seconds. But through that, this pack is essentially all dead, right? Yoda, in just a few seconds, has done, well over 3.5 million damage. And this insane pack that I would never recommend you actually pull in live keys is just dead. But for the purposes of the MDI, this is incredible. So And then the final pull that they do specifically with Rogue is this area of the dungeon. Once you're up in this necropolis, is very slow generally. Generally, you're not chaining these packs together because they're quite dangerous, and they have a lot of health, and a lot of these stitch works hit your tank with very nasty dots. So Yoda's going up. He has tricked Lighty. He's going to pull aggro and everything here. He is going to die in order to be able to release back down here, where Lighty has set up a snap spot, and they have things like Ring of Frost. They have crowd control ready to go. They are now in combat. Lighty is fighting. You see the damage meters and the healing meters are going up. And again, it's the same situation, right? We're past the 3 minutes later from the previous poll. Pain suppression is once again on Lighty. He is once again in meta, and powered barrier is once again down. So it's all the damage reductions to keep Lighty alive through this. And Yoda has ran off, grabbed the orb, as we saw a second ago. He's running over to come grab this orb. He's going to get life gripped back into the pole. The reason he didn't pick up that orb before is because when he goes up, he has to die and would lose the orb. He is in stealth, and he is going to pop orb. And despite not having done anything in this pole for a very long time, he's once again going to jump up to the highest damage in this pole. And he's going to, in those few seconds with the orb, again, do 3.5 million damage and just annihilate this pole. And the important part about this is that normally these are poles that are very hard to chain together, right? Because they will one-shot your tank. So the ability to do all these poles in one shot like this is in a huge time saving that other teams are, I'm sure, are going to start copying if they are not already planning on doing this. So should you reroll Rogue for Necrotic Wake? Probably not. But if you are a rogue, especially, and you are already pushing keys for the purposes of playing Necrotic Wake, you might want to consider crafting the legendary Mark of the Master Assassin, especially if you're an outlaw rogue. It goes on the same slot finger as your normal legendary that gives you damage when you adrenaline rush. So it doesn't really change your gearing all too much. You just slap on a different legendary, and for the purposes of this dungeon, you just make sure that you are the one to use the spears and the orbs when they're available. Just make sure you come out of stealth. You'll do insane damage. Your overall for the dungeon will be very high. Just ensure that you tricks your tank before doing so you don't snap aggro and kill yourself.